It's time for the news.
Has been convicted in his hush money trial in New York City. This is a really significant moment. It's the first time in history that a former American president has been convicted in a criminal trial of felony charges. This is a moment that's going to matter both legally and politically. Legally, these are 34 felony charges that carry 4 years in prison, although it's not known whether prosecutors are going to seek any prison time or whether the judge is going to impose any prison time. Politically, the implications remain to be seen, but there's no question that Trump is going to clearly try to rally his base and to try to get voters and his supporters to believe that this is a case of political persecution, as he has long maintained. But it's also possible that American voters are going to be turned off by the idea of electing a candidate who is now a convicted felon. This case has been unfolding for months. It concerns hush money payments that prosecutors say were made to a porn actor who alleged that she had an extramarital sexual encounter with Trump a decade before the 2016 presidential election. And prosecutors say Stormy Daniels was paid to keep quiet and to prevent those claims of a sexual relationship from surfacing during the final days of the 2016 presidential election. And the allegations here were that Trump falsified business records to prevent the true nature of those payments from being revealed.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. It wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a Soros-backed DA, and the whole thing, we didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent, and I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end, and we'll win.
Yes, Donald Trump is the first, and I say that again, the first U.S. president to become a convicted felon after the jury on Thursday found him guilty on all counts of falsifying business records to conceal alleged affairs during his 2016 campaign. The 34-count conviction deals the most striking blow yet to a man who has dodged criminal scrutiny for decades and now is unable to fend off a guilty verdict in the city that fostered the fame that catapulted him into the nation's most powerful office. Trump's conviction does not prevent him from running for office of the presidency or returning to the White House should he win in November, but it hurls the country into uncharted waters as he has firmly secured his spot as the presumptive Republican nominee. Oh God, this is going to be so much fun. This is going to be so much fun. I think the first debate between Trump and Biden is in June. I think it's June or something, and he gets sentenced in July. This is going to be so much fun for those of us who just want to watch the world burn. Man, this is gonna get ugly, and this is gonna be hilarious to see the amount of meltdowns that you see in the media, in the press, and just the sheer ridiculousness of the statements Trump and his family and the people around him and the Trump haters are going to make. I have never been more glad to be a third-party voter. I've actually changed my vote from Cornel West to Jill Stein, who I voted for in 2016. So, I mean, I think, unfortunately, Brother Cornel is not great at running a political campaign whatsoever. He's, you know, just, I think more than anything, Cornel West has shown that just because you're a brilliant man with brilliant ideas and are a great academic and author and an eloquent speaker, it does not mean you have the skill to run for office. Running for office is in itself a skill. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people don't know that. Running for office in itself is a skill. You just don't have an idea and say, I'm going to run for office. Especially not for president. Maybe you could get away with that on the city council or something. Even that, I would advise against that. But running for president especially is a huge task. You have to put together a whole team, a whole campaign staff who know what they're doing. And unfortunately, Brother Cornel, his brilliance in academia and in cultural matters has not translated to a good, well-run campaign. So I've definitely, hate to say this, but I've had to change my vote from him to Jill Stein, who at least knows what she's doing. This is her, I think, third or fourth time running for president. She actually tried to steer Brother Cornel in the right direction, but apparently his ego, allegedly his ego sort of had him rebuff her help. But she at least knows how to run a campaign on some level, so definitely. But as I was saying, I've never been happier to be a third party voter than right now. The amount of clown mess that's about to come over the next few months as Trump is sentenced, as he's debating Joe Biden, as Democrats and Republicans are both beclowning themselves during this time, it is going to be glorious for those of us who just want to sit back and watch the chaos. I think it's great. His July 11th sentencing date comes just 4 days before he is set to officially become the nominee at the Republican National Convention. Trump could face jail time, but first-time offenders on charges like Trump are rarely incarcerated. Judge Juan Merchan, who oversaw the case, withstood a cascade of attacks from Trump throughout the trial. The 12 New Yorkers returned with their verdict after roughly 11 hours of deliberation. Trump sat stone-faced in the courtroom, mainly motionless, only occasionally turning to face the jury. I could only imagine. Trump's charges stemmed from bogus reimbursements he made to his then fixer, Michael Cohen, who paid a porn actress $130,000 days before the 2016 election to stay quiet about her alleged affair with Trump, which he denies. Prosecutors charged Trump. Well, first of all, let me just say this before we get to, like, obviously these charges are the whole thing is ridiculous, right? Donald Trump himself paid this porn star $130,000 to keep her mouth shut. And all she has done the last decade is run her mouth all over the entire the entire US of A. It is absolutely hilarious that him paying her off actually had the opposite of the intended effect. Ironically, had he not paid her off, if he just said, she's lying, and went on with his life, he probably would have been all right. Like, because ultimately, even if people believed it, she probably doesn't have that much proof that he slept with her. Unless she's a weirdo like Monica Lewinsky and kept the dress that, you know, his DNA was on or something. But outside of that, most people would have probably just sort of discarded it the same way that people discarded Jennifer Flowers with Bill Clinton back in the 90s. I mean, you know, Bill Clinton probably had something to do with her, but nobody really cared. And this was 30 years ago when people were a lot more, I guess, conservative about this type of stuff than they are now. He probably could have just let it go in all honesty. He probably could have just let it go. Prosecutors charged Trump with over 11 invoices Cohen filed, 12 general ledger entries, 11 checks Trump paid his then fixer, saying each amounted to Trump lying in New York business records. To secure the felony convictions, prosecutors also persuaded the jurors beyond a reasonable doubt that the hush money cover-up was to conceal or further some other crime, portraying the payoff as part of a broader catch-and-kill scheme to quash negative, salacious stories about Trump that ran afoul of state and federal laws. Over roughly 4 weeks of testimony, the prosecutors built that narrative through testimony from top 2016 campaign aides, Trump Organization employees, and star witnesses at the center of it all. Both Cohen and porn actress Stormy Daniels took to the stand to testify against Donald Trump. The trial captivated non-stop national attention, playing out moment by moment on cable news channels despite no cameras being allowed inside during the proceedings. It forced Trump to spend weeks inside the gritty, wood-paneled courtroom in Lower Manhattan, further cementing his legal battles as a cornerstone of his campaign. So ultimately, this is like, I mean, it's crazy. Like, in a few weeks, we're actually going to do the 30th anniversary of the OJ trial. The 30th anniversary, because June 12th, 1994, I believe that is the day that either Nicole was murdered or that he was arrested, one of those things. But June 12th, 1994 is the that is the anniversary. So this June 12th, 2024 will be 30 years exactly. So we're going to get into some really in-depth about some stuff that people either have forgotten or didn't know about the OJ case when that comes up. But this case sort of reminds me of the OJ case in the sense that it has become a culture war issue. If you remember, just like in the OJ case, whether OJ was guilty or innocent was almost secondary to where you stood culturally. If you thought that the legal system was racist and unjust, particularly to black people, you were on OJ and particularly Johnny Cochran's side. And if you were a defender of the system and thought that, generally speaking, that America was fair and that black people are too sensitive or black people are too overly sensitive to racism or over exaggerate racism, should I say, then you were more likely to think that OJ did it. And whether OJ did it or not became secondary to those sort of conflicting beliefs. And the same thing here. Whether you believe Trump is guilty or innocent or not, or whether you think it's a witch hunt, tends to really be based on where you stand politically. If you think Trump is a completely innocent, I don't think anybody believes Trump is innocent, but if you are on Trump's side, it is generally because you believe that he is being persecuted by the deep state. And you are against the deep state and you think that he's being persecuted by the deep state, the FBI, the CIA, the intelligence agencies, and the media. It is more about being against the liberal media, the corporate media, the NSA, the FBI, the CIA, these intelligence agencies, and all these sort of entities that are seen as being anti-Trump. If you believe that Trump, if you're anti-Trump, it is more likely because you are a Democrat, which now, strangely enough, means generally that you are at least tolerant of the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the surveillance state. You support a certain level of deplatforming of people's personal views. You look at free speech as something that is enabling of hate speech and all these other things. Trump's innocence or guilt almost tends to be irrelevant to where you stand politically on the political spectrum that we have here in America. Me, as somebody who hates both parties, anybody who listens to this show on a regular basis knows beyond a shadow of a doubt I hate all these people involved. I just say let these gangsters fight. That's what I said during January 6th and everything else, all these other trials they put Trump. Let these gangsters fight. Trump is a gangster. He is a career gang. He was groomed by Roy Cohn, mafia lawyer Roy Cohn, career mafia lawyer Roy Cohn, who was one of the main people behind McCarthyism in the 1950s, blacklisting people. Roy Cohn spent his entire life lying, cheating, and sort of using the law to brutalize people that I guess weren't like him, including some that were like him, as we found out later in his life. I personally believe black people don't have a dog in this fight. As a black person, there is no rule of law in this country. We all know this. This is just one group of gangsters getting a momentary win over another group of gangsters. This is the deep state. This is the FBI, the CIA, the sort of the establishment taking on a smaller gangster in Donald Trump. And what Donald Trump is finding out is that you cannot fight City Hall. Your arms are too short to box with God, G. In Trump's little world in New York City before all this, he was a billionaire who could take on whoever and whatever he wanted to. He could take on the people in Hollywood. He could take on the people in real estate and all these other people. But what he's finding out is that the deep state, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, these same people who illegally spied on him during his 2016 campaign, which is why we know Russiagate was nonsense, because they were spying on him literally the entire time and could not find anything incriminating on him at the time. These people have way too much influence. They influence our media. They influence our culture. They influence our politicians. You can't fight City Hall, folks. But that don't make Donald Trump innocent. He is a gangster. He's just not as big of a gangster as the establishment are gangsters. So as I've always stated, Trump is guilty. And it's a political witch hunt. Both things can be true. It's not one or the other. It's not like either Trump is guilty or it's a political witch hunt. Trump is guilty and it's a political witch hunt. If Trump was not on the wrong side of the establishment gangsters, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the liberal media, the establishment, he would not be going through what he's going through right now, even if he paid off 100 porn stars. And I think everybody with a brain knows this at this point. We've seen all the criminality of the Bidens, from no-show jobs for his kids to, rape allegations, sexual assault allegations, even from his own children. Nobody really has spoken more damning words about Joe Biden than his own children. His son having him saved in his phone as Pedo Peter. His daughter claiming that he took showers with her and she felt weirdly sexualized at a young age. These are things that are not plastered all over the media because the deep state, the people who control our establishment, do not want it plastered all over the media. If it was Trump, I think we know it would be. I think if Ivanka Trump, if somebody got Ivanka Trump's diary and it said that that Donald Trump took showers with her and sexualized her at an early age, and if they found Donald Jr.'s phone and it said Pedo Peter in it, And if they found Don Jr.'s laptop and it said that he had to pay 10% to his father in all these illegal businesses he was in, you better believe you'd see it on TV every night. As opposed to being swept under the rug and characterized as Russian disinformation until the FBI or the CIA or whoever is forced to admit that it is real. And even then, it's swept under the rug. You know, again, so Trump is guilty, but it's also, again, these are two factions of gangsters fighting each other. The Democrats are no less corrupt than Donald Trump is. They are just as corrupt as he is. The Bidens, the Clintons. Hell, I just told you guys last week about how Bill Clinton helped give people AIDS. Don't give me this nonsense about Trump. Okay? All of these people are corrupt. The Democrats, the Republicans, you have no friends. You have no saviors in this current model. The only answer there is, and here's the answer, because this is issues and answers, I've given you the issue, is to create alternative political movements, third parties, alternative voices, alternative choices, and alternative radio like WLTH. Who I'm proud to say I've been on the air here for 8 years, I think. I think this will be my 8th year here on the air at WLTH. They have never told me what I cannot say, ever. They have never told me I can't come on here and attack Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan. I mean, I'm about to attack Ronald Reagan in the very next segment. Nobody said anything. This is how we get to truth in our society. This is how we save our culture in our society. But the Democrats and Republicans, these warring factions of gangsters, the deep state and the establishment versus MAGA, these people, like, this is not going to win, especially if you're black. Again, I really feel sorry for black people who believe in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party or any of these corporate parties whatsoever. I really feel sorry for you. I really feel bad for you. I really do. These people are all corrupt and they do not give a damn about you. Seriously, hold on to call. I'll get to you in a minute. So after all this, civil war started trending on Twitter. And I think we all know who is driving that. But as I've always told people, I've always warned liberals and people on the left to proceed with caution once you start talking that civil war stuff. I think it's important to remember who has all the guns in this country. You know, who has all the guns in this country? I give you a hint. It ain't the liberals. It ain't the people in these metropolitan cities who think guns are icky and try to pass gun control. No, it's the people in Texas who have their children holding AR-15s in the first grade and have hunting racks on the backs of their truck. Those people have all the guns. I don't think we want civil war with those people. The only hope we really have is that all the gangsters that we have in a civil war will act right and actually help us instead of destroying our communities for once. Will actually help us fight back against all those hicks with all their guns. But that's really all the issues that we have. Me personally, I would like to see the entire political elite class brought up on charges and treated exactly the same way that Donald Trump has been treated. What we just saw with Donald Trump, I believe, should be seen with the Clintons, with Joe Biden, with Barack Obama, with Reagan's dead. I'm gonna hopefully be able to slander him in the grave in the next segment. Do my thorough slandering of him in the grave. But I believe our entire political class needs to meet the same level of scrutiny, the same level of prosecution that Donald Trump is, even though I know that's unlikely, because again, the rest of those people go along with the establishment, they go along with the deep state, and that is why they allowed them to get away with it, and why Trump, who they deem is too crass and too crude and too rude, is the one that they make sure that they persecute. Let me get this caller. Thank you for being a good soldier, caller.
Hey, my man, I'm enjoying your show.
Thank you.
But let me explain to you one thing. Donald Trump is not going to do one day in jail.
He ain't.
He already showed us or told us how smart he is, what he can do and what he can't do. Now, all of these jurors that went against him, don't you think they got their look over their back from now on the rest of their life?
Yep.
If he sit here and mouth off and talk smart at the judge got to watch his back too. They can't put everybody in the witness protection plan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you remember what they say about you know what walk and money talk?
Mm-hmm.
He got money.
Yep.
And they all this is going on, all that trial for what? To say, well, he's found guilty. They're not going to do nothing to him about it.
Nope.
So why even go through all that? Probably spend millions of dollars of lawyers getting money. It's a big hype. Look at this, Donald Trump. You can see him look at it and sit there and look at him. He look like a doggone fool. But they not going to do nothing to him. He's going to be our next president, whether we like it or not. And the first thing he's going to do when he get in office is what? Pardon himself.
Well, these charges can't be pardoned away because they're state charges. They're not federal charges. His federal charges, he will be able to pardon away, but not these. He'll still have to face these, but you're right. He's not going to do a single day in jail.
No. They probably, if they, like they say, put him in a home arrest, he still be out there golfing and doing whatever he want to do, like he's supposed to be at home. Have somebody else sitting there with a monitor on their ankle.
Yep. That's probably what you're going to see. But thank you for your call, brother.
Oh, man, okay.
It's all good. Yeah, you're right. He's not going to go to jail. They've already said that virtually nobody in this position has ever been sent to jail, especially at that age. You can also look at it like before Trump, this was not considered a felony. It was considered a misdemeanor, what he did. So, again, these are warring factions of gangsters going to war with each other. That's what this is. This is not for us to be getting ourselves all riled up about it, because especially if you're black, Donald Trump ain't got nothing for you, and neither do Joe Biden. The Democrats are just going to continue to use black people for our blackness, co-opt the civil rights movement to push all kinds of alternative lifestyles that have nothing to do with our struggle, and illegal immigration and all these other things that hurt our community. The Republicans aren't going to do anything but continue to either ignore us. At best, they ignore us. At worst, scapegoat us for all of society's problems. So what do? You create alternative political movements, third parties. Those are the future. That is the future. Invest now and divest yourselves from these two genocidal parties that we have running this country, the Democrats. Or as I think it was Kendrick Lamar who called them the Democrips and the Republicans. I didn't join a gang when I was here in Gary, and I ain't about to join one as a grown man. Not no political gang either. All right, folks, when we come back, we look at the effect of trickle-down economics and how it's affected all of us here, particularly in places like Gary. We'll be right back after these.